Today we're going to learn lesson 5.3, which has to do with rates. Okay, and rates are very similar to ratios, except for there's just one um, difference. Today our learning target is I can find the unit rate. Okay, we're going to talk about what that means in a minute. Let's start off with defining what a rate is. So a rate is a ratio of two quantities using different units. Okay, so that is what makes a rate different from a ratio. They have to have different units. Okay, so dollars and hours, those are different units. Okay, it couldn't be dollars and dollars or hours and hours. Okay, they have to have different units. A unit rate, which we will be working on today, compares a quantity to one unit of another quantity. And we're going to look at what that means in a second. Last thing, equivalent rates. Remember, equivalent means equal. So equivalent rates have the same unit rate. So just like when we simplified our ratios all the way down, and if they had the same simplified ratio, they were equivalent. Same thing for rates. If we simplify it all the way down, is how we show equivalent rates. Okay, because they have the same unit rate, and unit rate means for one, okay, or per one. Okay, so for an example, if it's $5 for 2 pizzas, okay, which would be a really great price, $5 for 2 pizzas, the unit rate would be for 1 pizza, okay, and we'd have to divide them by 2 to get $2.50. So that's kind of what we're going to be working on today. We write rates using the same language as ratio statements. So for every. Okay. We are going to use different tools in order to find equivalent rates and unit rates. One tool is a double number line. This is something that you might not have seen before, but you also might have. And it is just a number line stacked on top of another number line, which is why it's called a double number line. Okay. It shows the rate at which you earn points for successfully hitting notes in a music video game. So I don't know if you guys are too young for this, and I'm too old for this, but back in my day we had Guitar Hero. So it was like a video game where you played the guitar. I don't know why that just selected, sorry. You play the guitar and you get like certain points for hitting the notes that you're supposed to hit. Okay, so that's what this is talking about. So we're writing two rates that represent the situation other than the one that is given right down here. Why is that a... I'm sorry, this is really strange. All right, anyway, sorry. Okay, so we're going to write two rates other than the one that's given. The one that's given is 600 points for every 4 notes. Okay, so we get 600 points if we hit 4 notes in our game. Okay, so I want you to take the time, you can pause the video, and write 2 rates using this double number line. Okay, other than 600 points for every 4 notes. I want you to pick 2 other rates on this double number line. Okay, if you're not done yet, please pause that video so that I don't start talking while you are still creating your 2 rates. All right, by now you should have 2 rates written down. If not, please again pause the video and wait until you have them down to resume. There are many different answers for here. Okay, so for 1 could be 150 points, and we have to write in the labels. Okay, since there's not really enough room to write out points, I'm just going to put PTS for points. Okay, and I'm going to label that up on my double number line. And I'm just going to, and I'll write out the word notes. For every 150 points for every 1 note. Okay, another one that I could have written was 300 points for every 2 notes. Okay, so double number line is the same thing as a ratio table, really. This could easily just be put into a table. Okay, and then it would be something that you've seen before. If you're starting to see the resemblance, it's just another way to visualize it. All right. Now we're going to talk about unit rate. So that's what a rate is. They just have different labels. Okay, otherwise, same thing as a ratio. A unit rate, again, we defined above, but we are going to define it again because it's so important to know what a unit rate is. A unit rate compares a quantity to one unit of another quantity. Okay, in order to find a unit rate, you find an equivalent ratio or rate for the second unit to be 1. Okay, so for example, up here, our points was our first unit, notes was our second unit. Okay, so we wanted our second unit to be 1. Well, hey, we wrote the unit rate right there. Okay, 150 points for every 1 note is the unit rate. Unit rate is talking about per 1 something. Okay, so down below we want to find the unit rate for these situations. So we want the second unit, circle it, to be equal to 1. All right, this first example, we're going to start off with a table, since you guys are familiar with tables. Our top row is going to be dollars, bottom is going to be weeks. And it says $20 in 4 weeks. Okay, we want the weeks to be 1. And from here, we are going to solve it just like we've been doing with ratios. So how do we go from 4 to 1? Well, we are getting smaller. So we must be dividing. And we divide 4 by 4 to get 1. Whatever we do to 1, we have to do to the other. So we do 20 divided by 4 to get 5. This answer would be $5 per week, or $5 for every week. Okay. Number 2, we're going to use a double number line. All right, so I'm going to kind of show you how to set this up. Again, it's very, very similar to a table. So on the top here, I have dollars. On the bottom, I'm going to have ounces. It says that it's $12. It has to be a number line. So it says that $12.50 is 5 ounces. Okay, we want this 5 ounces to be for 1 ounce. We want to know how much money that is. So whatever's going to go in this circle up here is going to be our answer. So we are going from 5 to 1. We're getting smaller, so we know we must be dividing. And 5 divided by what is 1? Well, 5 divided by 5 is 1. Whatever you do to the bottom, we must do to the top. Okay. Long division here. So if you, obviously you don't have this extra space because that's the end of the paper, but you can always do this over here in your questions space. Actually, I'll do it over here too so you can relate. We're taking $12.50 and dividing it by 5. 5 can go into 1 0 times. 5 can go into 12 2 times. That would be 10. We have 2 left over. Bring down that 5. We carry our decimal straight up. 5 can go into 25 5 times. That's going to be 25. Perfect. No remainder. We just bring our 0 up. This is going to be $2.50 for 1 ounce. And we answer that as $2.50 per ounce, or for every ounce. Okay. So that is how we find the unit rate. If you guys think you got this down, I challenge you to pause the video and do all these examples on your own and check and resume to see if you get them right. So for example, you would do number 3, or sorry, pause the video, work out number 3, resume the video, check what you did. Pause the video, do number 4, resume the video, check to see what you did, and so on for number 5. And then number 6 I would probably watch because that's not something we've done before. But if you're feeling confident with this, I want you to pause the video and try these on your own. Okay. If you're not feeling too confident yet, I would like you to watch at least this first example before you would try the next one on your own. Okay. A piece of space junk travels 5 miles in 8 seconds. How far does it travel per second? Use a ratio table to solve. Okay, so my 2 units are miles and seconds. So in my table, I'm going to make miles, and seconds. You're going to notice that I'm starting to use more of these horizontal tables because I'm noticing that that's what you guys are using in class. Okay, so 5 miles, 8 seconds. This is nothing new. This is exactly what we've been doing in our last couple sections. Okay, now we want our second unit to be 1. So we want seconds to be 1. How far does it travel per 1 second? Whenever you see that word per, I want you to add the word 1 after it. Okay, and that's going to kind of help you set up these problems too. How far does it travel per 1 second? That tells us that we need a 1 to be in our second column. Okay, how do we go from 8 to 1? Well, we are getting smaller, so we have to divide. And we are going to divide by 8. All right, so we divide 8 by 8 to get 1. So we take 5 and we do the same thing, divided by 8. Now 5 does not evenly divide by 8. Okay, so we're just going to write it as a fraction. And remember, a fraction bar is the same thing as the division sign. So we do 5, fraction bar, 8. 5, fraction bar, 8. Okay, we erase all this excess table. And that's it. That's our answer. It asks how far does it travel per 1 second? 5/8 of a mile. And we have to include that per second on the end. Now you could always add in per 1 second if you would like, but that is up to you. Wow, that's really sloppy. Sorry. Okay. Again, I want you to challenge yourself. So if you're feeling confident, I want you to pause the video, try number 4, and then resume the video. However, if you're not feeling confident yet, do number 4 with me, and then number 5 I'll have you try on your own. You pay $16 for 8 ounces of salmon, so we're going to set up that table. Dollars, ounces. $16, 8 ounces of salmon. $16, 8 ounces. Write a rate that gives the price for each ounce. Every ounce, for each ounce. So we want that ounces to be 1. All right, just like above, we're going from 8 to 1. So we are dividing by 8. Now we have a little bit of a nicer number on top. We take 16 divided by 8. And we get 2. Again, I'm going to erase my excess table. And that is going to be my answer because the unit rate is for 1 ounce. So we are going to answer this question as in $2 per ounce, or $2 for every ounce. Okay. Very similar to what we've been doing. It's just that depending on what the question is asking for, we need one of these units to be 1 for it to be a unit rate. Okay. If you have not yet paused the video to try these on your own, I want you to pause it now and try number 5 on your own. And try it with a double number line. Okay. If you're not sure about a double number line, do it with the table. That's fine. You'll get the same exact answer. But I want you to challenge yourself to use a double number line. So here we have number line 1 and number line 2. 1,000. Lightning strikes Earth 1,000 times in 10 seconds. So this is how many times it strikes. This is how many seconds. And since it has to do with time, I don't really like that word because seconds is technically time as well. So we're just going to put strike in parentheses. It asked, okay, so it says 1,000 times in 10 seconds. How many times does the lightning strike per? And if you hadn't written over that like I did, that would mean per 1 second. Remember, I like to add that word 1 after that word per. So for per, not for per. So how many times does lightning strike per 1 second? We want the second to be 1. The funky looking one. All right, so we are going from 10 to 1. It is getting smaller, so we know we are dividing. Remember, we only multiply and divide. 10 divided by 10 is 1. 1,000 divided by 10 is going to be 10. No, it's not. It's going to be 100. When you divide by 10, you just take off 1 0, not 2. Okay. Here we have 1 second is 100 times. So our final answer would be 100 times. Lightning strikes 100 times per second. Isn't that crazy? kind of cool. Fun fact. All right, last example of the day. Using unit rate to find equivalent rates and ratios. Okay, so in this section, we're going to be learning how to use that unit rate in order to find a number that's not so nice. Okay, and I'll show you what I mean that. We're going to do a table because that's what you guys are used to. So we're going to start off with, you earn $35 for washing 7 cars. So we have dollars and cars. How much do you earn for washing 4 cars? Okay, so we're going to start our table with the first rate that they were giving us, $35, 7 cars. Okay, they want us to get to 4. Let's leave one empty in the middle. Can we go straight from 7 to 4 by dividing or multiplying by a whole number? No, it's going to get pretty ugly, okay? Meaning that we're just not going to have nice numbers, decimals and fractions. Okay, we want to make it as easy on ourselves as possible. So this is where we're going to use the unit rate. So if we can find how much it costs for washing 1 car, we can then get back up to 4 cars. Okay. So we have to ask ourselves, how do we go from 7 to 1? Well, we are getting smaller, so we are dividing. 7 divided by 7 is 1. We're going to do the same thing on the top. Divide by whatever we divided by on the bottom. 35 divided by 7 is 5. All right, now there's just one more step. Okay, because it doesn't ask for the unit rate, it asks how much for washing 4 cars. Okay, and we can go from 1 to 4. Okay, and how do we go from 1 to 4? By multiplying or dividing? Well, we are multiplying by 4. So we will do the same thing on the top. And we will get, 20. Sorry about that. 7th period just ended. All right, so then our answer for this question is going to be $20 for every 4 cars. Now here we can't use that word per because it's not for 1. Okay, so per, remember, is always per 1 second. So here's where we'd have to use like that, for every. Okay, $20 for every car. All right, and that is all. Okay, so at this time you can start writing your summary. I would like you to do a summary today about what the unit rate means. Okay, and how you can use that unit rate to solve problems. Maybe what's the difference between a ratio and a rate? Those might be some good ideas or questions to answer or think about when writing this summary.